Tyson. No, not Mike Tyson. Tyson Campbell and how he's holding that corner down for the Jaguars. I'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, good folks? Welcome to another edition of Locked On Jaguars. I am the host of Locked On Jaguars, Tony Wiggins. Been doing this for 3 years, been covering this team for 13 in a lot of different ways on a lot of different platforms. So we look forward to bringing you our unique spin on the Locked On Podcast Network, your daily podcast here on Locked On Jaguars. It's your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Blue Nile. Make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com. And Locked On listeners will get, Locked On Jaguars listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. That's right. Use Locked On at checkout. Well, thank you again for making us your first listen here. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. Talk about that hot corner, man. That hot corner where a lot of that heat, I got to straighten my brim up on my hat here. That hot corner where all of that heat comes from on the outside. Give you a little backstory. So the Jags had Jalen Ramsey, who they drafted in 2017. And it was the first time in a long time that you could honestly, literally argue that the Jags had someone on their team who was the best at his position in the league. We know the story. Jalen left, yada, yada, yada. When Jalen left, once they got the draft compensation that they wanted, they literally tried to replace Jalen with CJ Henderson. Athletically, yes, very similar. Loving the game? No. Intensity? No. But athletically, very, very similar. It lasted about a year and a couple of days, and then CJ was shipped off for a third-round pick for a various number of reasons. Up jumps the boogie in last year in the second round, at the top of the second round, when folks thought the Jaguars would look for a nickel corner. I did too. I thought they would take Asante Samuel. They did not. They took Tyson Campbell. I was shocked. I was surprised. However, I was not, at that point, I wasn't totally against it. They still had CJ at that point. They had gone out and signed Shaq Griffin at that point. So I was a little bit apprehensive about it because why did they pick another outside corner? But I had no idea that they already knew that they were going to trade CJ Henderson. And that's what they did. So my backdrop with Tyson Campbell and some of the things that I knew about him. I follow high school recruiting. I knew he was lights out in high school. He was a teammate of Patrick Surtain. They were both five-star recruits. Tyson Campbell went to Georgia. He started, was never really the best corner on their team because they had the Stokes kid on the other side who ended up getting picked a couple of picks ahead of Tyson in the first round with Green Bay. And the thing with Tyson is I was always enamored with his physical ability. I was always enamored with his size. But we just never saw those results, right? That added up to all of those accolades and to what we saw him look like. Fast forward about halfway through the rookie season last year, and all of a sudden you notice something. Those drafting him because of those athletic traits was a smart move because once they started playing defense a certain way, Tyson Campbell looked like he's going to be a future stud. Now, not Patrick Surtain, probably not even Asante Samuel, Jair Alexander, not any of those guys, but a little bit in a different way, almost like Marlon Humphrey, a player that has sort of similar size, a player that has almost the same sort of skill set, the same physicality. And if we go even further back, a little bit like Chris McAllister, who used to play with the Ravens, and Chris Dishman, those big, long guys that are not Jalen Ramsey. because Jalen isn't sort of an outlier guy, ran track, athletic, but Jalen also has something inside of him that a lot of players don't have. Tyson Campbell's a little bit quiet. But what he is he has quietly, and I'll segue to that, he has quietly become a guy that you don't hear people having concern about and you don't have folks worrying about. That's because they think that side of the ball or that side of the field with him on it is going to be just fine. And that's what you want. You want a guy like that. You want a player like that at corner who you don't hear from and you don't hear a lot about. That means he's not getting burnt. That means he's a sound. That means people aren't trying him. When you're not talking about him football-wise, it means he's doing his job. We just can't hold it against him that he's not talking about himself a lot. And that's no knock on Jalen Ramsey or any other corner. But you don't always have to have this cocky demeanor and this loud demeanor in order to be very, very good. Darrell Green, Aeneas Williams, there have been guys, believe it or not, Darrell Reeves was a quiet player. Like Richard Sherman chirped and made a lot of noise. Darrell Reeves was another guy, he didn't make a lot of noise. The thing is I don't mind the fact that he's quiet and we don't hear from him very much, as long as we don't hear about him very much. And neither of those things are we getting. We don't hear how bad he is, or he got burnt, or he got toasted. And we also don't hear him chirping a lot. And we know what that ends up doing. That ends up putting the bullseye on your back that you better back it up. So I like where they are with Tyson Campbell. In segment 2, I'm going to tell you what I see from him and what I see him ended up being as a player, especially with this new defense. In segment 3, I'm going to tell you how it affects the entire team, including the rest of the players on the ball club. We'll get into all of that here on Locked On Jaguars, man, because that's just what we do, right? You know it. We're going to go through it all here on Locked On Jaguars after I tell you guys about BlueNile.com. What's BlueNile.com? You can celebrate all of life's special moments, from creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams to gifting a classic and timeless jewelry piece that will not necessarily be for getting married, but it just marks a period or a point in time for that special person in your life. Blue Nile is the truth, man. It has simple online tools that let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as setting style. Blue Nile's bench jurors will then handcraft her perfect engagement ring or her perfect ring that will mark a point in time for you. You can make your moment sparkle with jewelry from BlueNile.com, and Locked On Sports listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. That's right. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use the promo code Locked On. The promo code again is Locked On, and go to BlueNile.com. Every order is insured. It ships for free and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away the surprise that's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece by going to BlueNile.com today and use the promo code Locked On. And we're glad that you join us here, making us your first listen on Locked On Jaguars, your daily podcast. Now, for this month, we're going to probably do about 3 times a week until we get things heated back up when training camp starts. We don't want to flood you with a lot of fluff. We want to give you the good stuff. But I have a favor of you guys I want you to do. We have an important favor to ask of you. We put together a survey so we can learn more about our listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 different $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. And we thank you in advance for your help with that. Now, Tyson Campbell. What do I anticipate from Tyson Campbell this year? I think he gained some confidence last year, and I think he realizes his potential. With him, you're going to probably see more of a guy who doesn't allow big plays than a guy who makes a ton of big plays. There are a lot of guys in the league, they make a ton of big plays, but they give up some every now and then too. I think Tyson, the good thing about him and the way he's set up is and the way that they're going to play him, I think he's going to see the guy. He's going to be the guy that plays really never get made against, and I think that's going to be the thing that celebrates or gets to that will celebrate about him. That's going to be the thing that leads to him being considered a great player. Not that he's like this dude that just jumps off the tape at you because of all the things that he does. What I mean, he's probably going to be a more coach-friendly player for this team than he is a fan-friendly player. But a true fan will understand that if you don't hear about him, then he's doing his job. And I don't think he'll ever be a rah-rah guy. It just doesn't seem like that's the type of person he is. I think he's going to be someone who leads by example. I think he's going to continue the way that he played in the second half of last year, and he's going to be a tremendous asset for the Jaguars. Getting the pass rush in front of him fixed and creating a situation where the players are doing their job creates a situation where a guy like Tyson, you just trust him and he's going to be able to trust his teammates that he's going to be able to do his job. Not that typical cover corner that everyone always talks about that makes a ton of plays. Now, I think he's going to be a guy who's on the receiving end of some opportunistic situations, and those opportunistic situations like tip balls, being Johnny on the spot, because I think he's always going to be around the ball. The knock on Tyson Campbell for a long time was that there was always a play to be made and he was right there, but he never would do it. And he never would also time the ball perfectly or catch the ball. And he was never quite that dude that actually made a play as a defensive back. I think the more confident he gets, and I do believe with this new system, what Tyson Campbell's going to be able to do is that athleticism is like a late bloomer. It's all going to come in and it's all going to turn around for him. And he'll make some plays, but that won't be the chief things that you'll know him for. The thing that you'll mostly know him for is the fact that the plays he makes are the ones that you don't really see. And that's because he's doing his job. So I do expect everyone has always wanted to try to replace Jalen Ramsey, and that's why they took a chance with the athleticism of C.J. Henderson. I don't think that's what Tyson Campbell is. I think what Tyson Campbell is just that steady Eddie guy who opponents knows very good and who coaches when they watch tape can tell you he's better than his stats and he's better than all of these things that you that a lot of us look at in terms of when we try to judge players. I really do think Tyson Campbell is going to be that good of a player. He's big, he's physical, he's long. And the thing is with him is what you get from him is what you're going to consistently get from him week after week after week. And when you start comparing him to, you take the traits that he has, the traits of a Travon Walker and Josh Allen, and then the traits of a Devin Lloyd in the middle. Now you start to kind of see what they want to do defensively. They want to build it to the point where at every turn you're running into a superior athlete. At every turn you're running into a guy who's bigger and stronger and faster. And Tyson Campbell fits that bill. Now, what does this mean for the rest of the secondary? Because if you've noticed, Tyson Campbell has not been much of the conversation in the offseason. A lot of the conversation was around, is Andre Cisco going to develop? What is Shaq Griffin? Who's going to start, him or Darius Williams? And can Shaq play the slot if they decide that Darius Williams is the best alternative on the outside? You ever heard anybody talk about Tyson Campbell? I happen to think that Tyson Campbell at sometimes will line up in the slot and they'll use his ability to be big and physical and disruptive and be in that short area where you can come off that corner and rush the quarterback. That's what I think. But to me, it's refreshing. It's absolutely refreshing that there isn't a lot of talk about Tyson Campbell, because when you're not talking about him, that means you're not worried or concerned. And you know who he is and what he is and what he's going to do. And you focus on that more than what he's going to do beyond the X's and O's. I think he's just going to be an X's and O's guy on defense and be a linchpin for this secondary. I'm going to tell you how his presence can affect the rest of the secondary and how it'll also give you a chance to understand how you think they're going to play or how we think they're going to play. And we'll do it in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. I got to tell you about BetOnline because it's your number one source for all your betting stats, sports, and info. You can find all the latest sports developments, news, and odds, including the basketball championship matchup. Last night, game one, Boston walked those boys down and actually out Golden State in the fourth quarter and winning by 12 points. The NHL hockey conference finals are on. I watched some of that too, and then I saw people that aren't even hockey fans say they went and it was off the chain. So that is something that you need to look out for. And Major League Baseball is rolling. The Yankees are beating up everybody right now, and we'll see how that lasts. Boxing and UFC are always on the docket too, because at BetOnline, it's your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action, because BetOnline is where the game starts. You guys start here with me every single day on Locked On Jaguars, 5 days a week, normally 3 days a week during our down period. But we are your first listen, and we are greatly appreciative of you making us your first listen. So, quick third segment here about Tyson Campbell and why I think he's going to have a bigger year and start to get some recognition from around the country. It's simply going to be because he's not going to be a guy you can pick on. He's going to make the type of plays that make people not even want to throw the ball at him. I think he's going to line mostly up on the right side. On the right side, well, it'll be the right side of the defense, left side of the offense. But I think that's where he is. And I think he's a guy that you normally stick right on that X receiver from another team and think that you're going to be all right. Tyson Campbell runs very well, and he's also big and long. And even though he doesn't always catch the ball when he's in traffic, he can cause a quarterback, because of his length and his size, to have to make a good throw. He's also very good in the run. He can run support. He can shed blocks and get up and make open field tackles. Speaking of that, if you watch Tampa play, and I know Mike Caldwell is going to have his own spin on the type of offense he runs, but if you watch Tampa play, you notice one thing that they did well in their secondary was they tackled. And you have to be able to tackle people in the secondary, because you look around at the teams that win, they have receivers that can absolutely get away from you if you miss a tackle, and they could really give them the easy score. It could change field position, all of those things, and that's not what you want to happen if you're a Jaguar. What does it do for the other guys? Well, it kind of puts a bullseye on the back of Shaq Griffin, and it puts a little bit of a bullseye on the back of Darius Williams. Is because I think with Tyson Campbell, teams are going to be hesitant to throw the ball that way, because not that he's going to pick it off and return it back, but I think he's just going to be able to be a guy who's not going to allow plays to be made. That leads you to the other side. Can they stop people from getting deep? Can they tackle when they need to? And I think it's going to be imperative for them to get that figured out. And who they're going to play in the slot. Is it going to be Darius Williams? Is it going to be Shaquille Griffin? Tyson Campbell might be a quiet rookie or a quiet second-year player. Make no mistake about it, there are a bunch of people, including me, that believe he's the best player in the secondary. Now, because he's so good, so early, and so driven, and I watched him in practice the other day, super confident. The same things I'm telling you now, they're starting to resonate, not only with him, but with the rest of his team, and I know his new coaches notice it too. But he's one of those guys, man, that makes other guys around them either better or he exposes them. So you're going to have to be better if you're Shaquille Griffin. You're going to have to be better if you're Rayshawn Jenkins. If you're Andre Cisco, and if you're Darius Williams. You have a foundational piece in Tyson Campbell. And a year ago, you guys would have told me I was crazy if I said that, because everyone was mad at that selection. But I keep telling you guys, with Trevor and with ETN bouncing around like a gazelle in practice, and Tyson Campbell already being proven, if Walker Little wins the right tackle position, there's a whole bunch of people around here that might owe Trent Baalke an apology eventually. Y'all, you might not think it, but we, not you guys, not y'all, but we all might eventually have to go, all right, Trent, sorry. I see you. I see what you're trying to do. And even if it's not like the pick you would make, sometimes, man, you have to acknowledge when something is going okay, and when something is going, and you start to really see the direction they're headed with how they're picking players. Athletic traits do matter. I think sometimes people get athletic traits and talent mixed, because you can have athletic traits and just not be talented. You're just athletic. You can be talented without being super athletic, or you can be like Jalen Ramsey, be both. I think Tyson Campbell is both. He's probably not as naturally talented as a guy like Jalen. I don't think he's as talented as CJ Henderson, but I don't think he's better than Jalen, but I do think he's better than CJ, because he's talented, he's athletic, and he loves football, and he's driven. CJ, I don't think, for whatever reason, put his all into football. Jalen is Jalen. He's like one of three. There's not very many people like that. But with Tyson Campbell, I think now that we've given him a chance, he can be good and he can be effective. I think he can be as effective as Bouye was when Bouye was here. I really do. And he was a very good player. And he was a guy that people around the league knew. He just wasn't very talkative. But he was the kind of guy that a whole bunch of plays were not made against him. And I think that same thing could happen with Tyson Campbell. And if he's good and that pass rush is good in front of him, the more of these good pieces you have, you'll start shrinking reasons why you can't win. And you'll start to be able to really pinpoint why you can't win games if you have talented players. So I do think they have the alpha dog in their secondary that they need, and I think it's Tyson Campbell. And I think if you look back at the second half of last year, and I think if you kind of anticipate the fact that Darius Williams knows how to win, and that he was absolutely necessary, because I think you need 3 starting corners in this league. One thing you won't have to second guess if number 32 is one of your problems, because he won't be one. I think Tyson Campbell has a huge year, and he gets into the consciousness of the NFL as one of the 7 or 8 best corners in the league. And then from there, you got to figure out what it is. But as for right now, Jaguar fans, you should be happy, because I'm very, very happy with the pick that I wasn't always happy with. And I think Tyson Campbell is going to be very, very good for this football team. Make sure you check out the Locked On NFL podcast. It's on YouTube. It's on all of the platforms and wherever you get your podcasts. Like and subscribe. It's a Monday through Friday show. I host it with James Rapine on Wednesday. But it's a look around the entire NFL, not just your favorite Locked On team. Please like and subscribe and make it your next listen after this, which is your first listen. I'm freezing in here where I am, man. I keep hitting this thermostat, and it just keeps going on and on and on, and it won't stop making me cold. So I'm going to go and try to warm up. You guys warm up this weekend and enjoy the beautiful weather here in our wonderful city, or wherever you might be. Make sure you continue to make Locked On Jaguars your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Podcast Network. Until next week, you guys take care of each other. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you later.